Hello and welcome. In this video, getting started in OBS in under 5 minutes. Can search Google for OBS like I've just done here, and you need to go to the download page and get the software. So once you've downloaded the program, this is what it looks like. We have this section here called scenes. Then you have a second section called sources. And then here I have audio mixer, scene transitions, and controls. What you want to do with scenes is add a scene. I already have one here called scene 1. In the bottom I have a plus icon. I can add another scene, so I can have a multiple ones. Let's call this one wide and do OK. Let's do another one called screen and do OK. So now I have 1, 2 and 3. The next thing we want to do is add sources. Sources are your different devices. So let's do plus and let's add something like a video capture device. I'm going to call this my camera, just so you know what it is, and do OK, just like that. So in this screen now, it gives you a few options. So let's do USB video because that is my capture card. If you're not familiar with that, I did a video about how you plug it in and everything, so check that one out. But this is a quick starter guide. So if you have a webcam or something, that would also be listed here. Normally in these settings, I'll give you a tips about how to set these settings up correctly, but I'm just going to leave it as default and do OK. So my camera has been set up. You'll see the orientation here is different to a normal setup. Normally it's like a square, like that's a terrible square, but you normally get a square format. You can change that. I'll show you how. So firstly, we've added a camera in, so that camera feed will look like, just to give you an idea. So next I want to add something else. I need to add my microphone. So let's do add and then audio input capture, because we're inputting audio into there, and call that, well, we already got one called there, mics. Let's add mic and then do OK. And then here it'll ask you which device is your microphone. So you need to be familiar with your computer, and you can set in the right microphone. And then here you can see now I can monitor the levels of the mic. Here there's a few tips that you can turn your volume down, you can turn it up, you can click on the speaker which stops the mic, turns it on. So we've added a camera, we've added a mic. Those are the two things you need to set up quite quickly. So the next thing we want to set up is make it fancy. Let's go to another scene, because I had scene 1 and then I have scene 2. So in scene 1, the camera will be slightly different. In scene wide, I can put something like a capture of my screen. So display capture screen. Okay. And now here you can see a capture of my desktop screen, which you can select from here. And there's two, I've got two monitors, so either one of those monitors can be used. And that allows you to show your monitor. You can see this is my desktop, which is there. That's desktop 1. And then if I wanted to switch back to the cameras, I'd go to scene, then I would go back to scene 1. So I have two items in there. There's additional good things you can set up here, which I'll show you separately. Let me take you over to the last menu quickly to give you an overview of this. Over here is the main bit you're interested in. So here you'll see it says start streaming, that first button there. And then the next one is start recording. You can use two types of options here. Let me show you which one's which. So for start streaming, a certain stream option will apply, which you go to file, settings, and then this box appears here, and you can go to stream. So you can see this is a stream setup here that I can do on Reddit. So I normally use this separate one for Reddit streaming, and that's the streaming service. You can select the drop down box and change that to YouTube or Twitch or whatever you use. And then output, let me move my camera out the way. Output is recording the file, which is the second button here, which is start recording, which records to your hard drive. So you can live stream to a live streaming location. So click live stream, start streaming, and that will stream. At the same time, you can do start recording, and that will record it to your hard drive. So looking on here, recording settings, I've got a file path here, which is where it saves my videos. And then I've got a video bitrate. For Reddit, it's lower. It's only 3,500. I can make that more like 15,000. Yeah, 15,000, and that's better video bitrate for like 1080p video for hard drive use or video editing. And audio is your basic bitrate. I normally, for Reddit, I can only use 128, but normally I use 256. Makes it sound better, basically, more better quality. If you don't want to buy video editing software, you can actually set up OBS in a way which eliminates you having to use as a video editing software. There's a few ways of doing this. If you set it up in the right way, you can actually eliminate the need for any type of video editing. So this is what I use, and let me explain how you can do this. Okay, so here's how you can stop using video editing software. If you plan and set up your OBS session in a way that lets you smoothly transfer between screens, cameras, scenes, and effects, you can do it. Let me explain exactly what I'm on about. If you've seen my other video before this one about explaining how to use OBS in under 5 minutes, I explained the scenes, sources, audio mixer, and the controls. Then I have a wide shot. In wide shot, I have a camera, HDMI camcorder, which is up there. So that scene has a shortcut key as well. I'll explain later on in the video about shortcut keys and 10 tips that you need to know to make your live stream or video recording really easy. So if I go F1, that goes to the main screen, which is this one here. If I go F2, it goes to the secondary screen. You go to F3, there's another screen, and then F4 shows my desktop. So these are all things that are very interesting and intriguing to be able to do in a live recording session. I'm actually recording this live onto my hard drive at the moment. So if you were to go to a twin cam or a different screen on this setup, what it allows you to do is put more things in. So you'll see in wide shot I had only Canon and HDMI camcorder. Twin cam, I have Canon camera, which is my DSLR as a webcam, which is currently being used there. So I'm not using it twice. You can't use it twice. HDMI camcorder, which is up here. I have a top-down HDMI view. How does this eliminate your need for video editing software? Well, let me show you how. I start my video recording process and I press start recording and I start speaking to the camera, and then I can actually clip. Well, you need to be quite good at doing like a live session. Think of it as every video is live. What you're doing and what you're saying is actually going down and being recorded. So that means you can't really edit stuff. So if you make a mistake, you'll have to edit the video. A lot of my videos, the past 200 to 300 videos, are recorded in this way, where I'm just saying what I want to say and it records exactly what you're hearing. So there's slight mistakes in there. I'm not too fussy, to be honest. If I'm teaching you something and it helps you, I carry on recording. So now I put that new one in as a chroma key effect, and see that subscribe button? In the same way as adding a subscribe button action, I can add in another video clip or a photograph, and that all allows you to, let me go to wide shot and explain this. So that allows you to add in multiple things in your stream as an effect. So in the same way, I can do a countdown timer, which I'll place right now there. So you see that countdown timer, I'm doing this live, so it's not edited. And then let me show you how I get rid of the green screen effect quickly. This is covered in my other tutorial, but I'll show you it quickly. So if I go to this, so okay, now I have this green screen effect here. But if you go into 5-minute timer here, right click on it and do filters, and effects filters, you can do an add chroma key effect, call it chroma key, okay, close, and now you'll see that timer's come up there and it's actually see-through. In the same way, you can have a subscribe button like I showed you a little while ago. I'm just clicking that in there. So I have multiple things in there, which means I don't need to edit. And because I have multiple cameras, that's even better, because what that allows you to do is you can use multiple cameras to switch between what you're showing. So that's an extra thing that you don't need timers editing for. So like, for example, all these cameras are recording live as we're speaking. I'm just switching between the cameras and they're all recording onto one file with the audio going in, which I explained in my earlier setup. I can't go too fancy with this, but you can do the main things that you'd like to do. And the main types of videos I do is talking shots, and I'm showing you examples. It makes it dead easy. I've got 3 cameras set up. One's facing down on my desk. When I'm showing an example of something, I can easily just do examples and show you everything I need to show you. And it's like, as it happens, you see it. So if there's a mistake that happens and I'm doing it, I can say, wait a minute, if you were to do this process, you might come to this mistake. So I prefer you to see the whole thing. So that's a bit more about OBS and diving into how it can stop your video editing needs to an extent. If you want to go really record your videos directly as one take, then this video is going to really be helpful for you. I'm going to explain all the settings you need to know to get a good quality video recorded onto your hard drive, which you can use to directly upload to YouTube, or if you decide to edit, you can edit in a different video editing software. I did explain in my last video, you don't need to video edit it if you want to take it all as one take, but let me take you to my screen and quickly show you OBS and how you want to get the best settings from recording. So in OBS, we've covered this in previous tutorials and kind of little episode chunks I've done. Let me show you the main menu. So in File, Settings is the main menu you're interested in, which is this one here. you'll see there's a few tabs here. I've got general, I've got stream, I've got output, I've got video, audio, and then I've got video. So in these, the general tab I don't normally touch. Is a few options there. Stream tab I do look at because I YouTube live stream, so you can put your streamer key in there from your live stream dash. So if you go to YouTube Live Studio and do a live stream, it gives you a key. You can put that in there and then use OBS to control your cameras. I do that quite frequently. So apart from the stream, I have an output screen. The output gives you a few options. I normally choose, you normally get a simple mode here. I choose advanced mode, which gives me more options. In the streaming settings, it shows you what scale output is it. I do 1080p video. I have an intense graphics card which helps the encoding of my video. So in this drop down, you might not have this NVIDIA graphics card. I do. I use that. So when the video is recording on my hard drive, it's using the CPU, the central processing unit of my computer, as well as my graphics card CPU, so it lightens the load on my CPU so I can still do intensive tasks. Further down here, you can see the bitrate when I'm streaming is only 5,000 kilobits per second. You can make that higher if your quality of your internet is good. My preset here, I put on quality, not max quality, but I put it in quite high because I want that to get a good solid encoding done. If you put it lower, there's a bit more time it takes and a bit more processor speed it uses, and as it gets uploaded onto YouTube, the video quality won't be as good. And apart from that, recording, you can see here in this output recording option, I do a path for my folders. All my recording files, if I press start recording, as you see there, then that records to that location. And I've got an MP4 file here, which I select from this drop down recording format. You can have these other formats. I choose MP4 because it's easier for me to handle. So that's that screen. Audio, you can see I have 256 kilobit bitrate for my audio, so it sounds like nice. Hopefully you can hear the audio and you can tell me if it sounds nice or not. And replay buffer, I don't normally enable that. This is if you're live streaming, you have like a replay buffer where you can rewind and watch more of the video. Audio wise, here you can see I have the sample rate at 44.1 kilohertz and stereo. Apart from that, the main settings I normally change is in video, because you'll see the base canvas I have set up as 1080p video. If your computer is not too high intense and you're not getting good video recording or streaming and it's missing rates, what you want to do is change that to 720p and see how it copes. I did a separate video about how to check if your computer can cope with live streaming and what kind of computer you need for live streaming or recording video. Either way, live or recording, you're using the same amount of power via OBS. Then I have common frames per second. I normally do 30 frames a second because I don't do any gaming, so I don't need it to be high 60 frames a second or anything like that. And my normal downscale filter is bicubic sharpening scale. I've left that as that. That's nothing fancy. Something you want to think about is hotkeys. You'll see in my hotkeys, I have wide shot, which is referring to my scene. I have a key in there, an F1 key. And what that's good for is if I press F1 now, that hotkey means I can switch over to this camera. If I press F2, it switches over to that camera. So that's what the hotkeys offers. You could put a key in there, whichever key you press while the live stream is running, you can actually switch to that camera or scene or desktop or whatever you're showing on that scene. Advanced options there's a few things there to look at, but I don't normally mess with that. So I normally do that, and that covers my settings for recording video. So when I do start recording, this will create a file, and that file is ready for me to use. And if you followed my guidance in the previous video that I spoke about how to make a video in OBS without having to use video editing software or making OBS your video editing software. OBS settings for recording multiple cameras. You can have loads of cameras set up so you can actually flip through the cameras and show different views. Let me take you onto my next screen here and show you exactly how to set up multiple cameras. Okay, so now we're looking at my OBS screen. If you're familiar with my other tutorials, I covered everything you're seeing here, so check out the earlier tutorials. This is about multiple cameras and what's the best settings to get loads of angles like you just saw. So on my setup, what I like to do is find a number of different cameras that will allow me to get different perspectives of what I'm doing. So right now you can see I have actually 3 cameras here. Let me get rid of some of these from a previous video that I made. I normally put extra frames on here. So you can see if I turn the frame off, there's no guideline around those little white lines. So these are all extra things you can make, which I'll link you to in one of the other videos about tutorial of making overlays. And I'll even give you a free overlay in that. You can see I've got a Canon camera, I can turn the Canon camera off, I can turn it on. That's that Canon camera. So I'm using a DSLR camera, an old Canon T2i to be specific, and that actually records video. It takes photos, but if you plug it in via USB, it actually becomes a webcam that you can use in a live streaming software, any type of software really, like OBS, Teams, Skype, Discord, but I use it in OBS. The secondary one here, I've got top-down HDMI view, which is up here. That one, that is actually another camcorder being used via a HDMI capture card. All these cameras can record at 1080p. That's my benchmark. So if everything records at 1080p, then the video looks half decent. And then I've got another option here where I can show my desktop, and the screen right is basically what you're seeing, infinite loop. So these cameras, all of these, they don't have to be expensive. If you look at the reflection in my phone, you'll see the camera pointing down. It's a, can I make it a bit higher so you can see a full screen? See that? It's just a camcorder. That's what it is, facing straight down on a piece of wood. So there's a few ways to do this. You can make it look nice and neat, and depending on the types of tutorials you're doing, you might need different setups, but the cameras are very important. I also look at action cameras that you can use as webcams. This is an A79. It's not the best camera to use as a webcam. However, there are other cameras that you can use. And if I was to show you another view where I do a twin cam view, you can see here now, on this camera view, I can easily switch between the cameras and show you a different action cameras. And these are all set up in the scenes. So earlier in the tutorial, I covered scenes and how you can use them to your benefit to avoid lots of editing time. So these all cameras are different setups. So I'm going to link you to a chapter about how to set up a live streaming camera to help you with this, because I think this is a wider topic. As long as they're all set up in the screen and you have your settings set up and the recording option, as in file, settings, and then here you can see I've got output and a video. In the video it's set at 1920 by 1080. So in this example, if some of these videos were not 1080p videos and they were a webcam, I can resize those. So for example, right now in this corner you can see I've got a Canon camera, and that is probably a 720p video feed. Normally it shows like that, but I can resize it by using OBS to do that and make it a full screen. So that's something that would be really handy, especially if you have multiple cameras. And you can do this on the fly, or you can have scenes set up separately where they're all already in their little boxes. So for example, these ones you can see here, they've been reframed. So all of these are easy to use OBS additions, scenes, frames, and all of these are sources in this OBS tutorial. I covered these in earlier pieces where you can do add a number of different types of things, images, photos. And if I wanted to speak about something, I could even do something like, let me get a cover. So here's a thumbnail. I could just throw that onto my screen, and now I have a picture here which I can use as part of my tutorial and say, talk about the picture. That could be a video, that could be a link, that could be a number of different things. You can even bring in somebody else's mobile phone and have them in as an interview. I also speak about that in an OBS Ninja tutorial. So I think these are little things that you will find helpful, especially if you want to eliminate loads of editing time, because all these OBS videos I've made so far, I've recorded them directly into OBS, and then all I did was take them to video editing software and got rid of a few bits because I wanted to make it a bit more streamlined. To support this video, I've got a link in the description to my mailing list. Make sure to sign up to that and you'll get an instant email with help sheets, guides, and frequently asked questions which will help you get through this journey.